On Insightful Inspiration, Isabelle Landreville chats with a mosaic of brilliant individuals that help shape the insights industry. We live stream episodes to LinkedIn, and you can listen on all major podcast networks. Join us, and please subscribe so you won't miss our guests' insightful inspiration and hear what drives them and how they get inspired to be successful in the insights industry and beyond. Insightful Inspiration is brought to you by Sylvester & Co., an award-winning qualitative research firm with half a century of experience.
Welcome back to episode 8 of Insightful Inspiration. Today, let's lean into AI and stretch our thinking of how it can be a powerful, even fun and creative tool for qualitative researchers. Hello, I'm Isabelle Landreville, President and Chief Insight Seeker at Sylvester & Co., where we've been aiming to understand people for 5 decades now, and your host of Insightful Inspiration. Today, I'm joined by the CEO of Jade Kite, an agile strategic insights agency combining the power of cutting-edge AI and timeless empathy to dive into the topic of Agile Insights. It's a pleasure to chat with Sidi Lemine. Hi!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Isabelle?
I'm good. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to actually, we've been talking, and I think AI is such a hot topic right now. And there's all this privacy stuff, all these, let's make it faster, cheaper, and sort of shortcuts and all that jazz, and a lot of concerns around it. But I think it could be super creative. And I know we've had interesting discussions around it and how it actually injects a lot of fun into what we do. And it's kind of a new toy for us to actually see what can we do with it. And you sort of talk about it so brilliantly at the QRCA last time we met, and the first time we actually met in person. And I just wanted to actually further that conversation and deep dive into it a bit more. But how about we start with Agile Insights? Can you actually tell us more about that and sort of what's your definition of that, what that means for you?
So, Agile has been a little bit overused maybe over the last couple of years. We've all heard every single version of it: do more with less, be fast, pivot, break things. In general, the definition I work with is FEFE. Focused, energized, fast and efficient, flexible and effective. And that's a bunch of words just to say one thing, to say, be really focused and determined to get to your goal.
Okay.
And that means having the goal in mind and not letting go of it, and being willing to let go of everything else to get from A to B without too many detours, and crucially, without churn.
And so how does that play out in a qualitative research project? What are some of how do you set yourself up for success? How do you make sure to stay on track, so to speak, and maintain that focus?
I think it's always an interesting part of qualitative research and of research in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's sometimes a tendency for some people to see research as a be-all and end-all. And I've never seen it like that. To me, research has always been a means to an end, and has always been in service of good strategy. You need good information, reliable information that will guide you and enable you to make better decisions. And that's where agility comes in to me, because a good research project is only possible if everyone knows why we're doing the research in the first place. If everyone is aligned, and I don't mean the fieldwork team and the analysts and maybe the insights manager. I mean all of the end users of the research, thinking 3 steps ahead about the stakeholder teams, anyone who is going to digest and use that data. If they haven't really expressed what they need, and if everyone isn't on the same page, we're going to have some churn, we're going to have some inefficiencies, we're going to maybe ask some questions we don't need to be asking, and we might miss some parts that were useful to someone and then have to go back to the drawing board. So to me, it starts with aligning everyone, sitting them down, and understanding what are we trying to accomplish, what is critical, and what are the nice to haves that we might want to shed off for now. really focusing on the critical is the key to success for me.
And why do you think this is more needed? I feel like it's more needed today than ever before. Um, and if you agree, why would you think that, or what makes you say that?
I really think so. I think it's fundamental today. I think anything that it might be a reason why we don't hear it as much as before, the word agile, because everything has to be agile now.
Hmm.
Um, Budgets are not what they were maybe 10 years ago. I mean, I'm not saying anything new when I say we're in a quasi recession. We've been in a quasi recession for maybe 4 years now, and no one knows what's going to happen in 6 months. And so no one really has the license to go around and do big, extensive explorations of culture just in case it uncovers something.
Yeah.
Right? No one, and crucially, no one has 6 months to spend. No one has 12 weeks to spend or 8 weeks. Everything has to happen now, and it has to deliver results.
Hmm.
And it's this conjunction of a few things, of the economic climate, which is very real. I think we've all felt it in one way or another over the last couple of years, and technological acceleration as well. Things just move faster now. Trends move faster, consumers move faster, innovation moves a lot faster. I remember seeing innovation streams back in the day that would take, say 3 years, 4 years to market.
Hmm.
And one of my clients recently went from white space to shelf in less than 3 months.
Oh, wow.
CPG, that's a physical product
Yeah.
that was released. And this is the kind of stuff that we have to keep up with.
Hmm.
So, for these two reasons, I think being efficient, but also being very energized, being almost like a laser with a directed energy that hits instantly is a non-negotiable.
Yeah. And you really pride yourself on marrying agility or agile insights with timeless empathy. What does that look like? How does that play out?
So it's a phrase I like to use, timeless empathy, because empathy hasn't changed
Hmm.
in all of this time. We're still humans, and that hasn't changed, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And we think about startups and consumers and techs and distribution and all of these things and omni-channel, but it's really important for all of us to remember that ultimately it's people all the way down. We are people, and the stakeholders are people, and the consumers are people, and everyone involved is a human being with their aspirations, with their dreams and hopes, with their needs. And we're all different, but we can all relate somehow. And if we don't, things break down.
Mm.
Teams work less well, and things get lost in translation if we don't make the effort to really understand each other and to project ourselves in each other's shoes. We lose a lot of what is possible.
Yeah.
We lose a bit of ourselves, and work is less fun in general.
Hmm.
But importantly, for insights, obviously empathy is important, because in that complexity of the human being, there is the potential to really serve people's needs and to add value to their life.
Hmm.
And that's inherent to everything that is done in insights. But I think, to what I was talking about earlier in strategy work as well, it is important to understand the motivations and the goals of everyone in the team, so
Yeah.
that everyone can find benefits in what we're doing. No one is dragging their feet. No one is reluctantly signing off a budget if everyone understands what it's doing and what it's bringing for them
Hmm.
as a human being.
Hmm.
And I think we all try sometimes to robotize our work a little bit and to be very efficient and to be like a well-oiled machine and so on. And I increasingly in this world, I don't think that's what's needed. I think connection is what is needed.
And it's interesting because I've always said, like the headline, you need empathy to be able to build consumer empathy. And I feel like your definition of timeless empathy also encompasses empathy for the people you're helping make their help that the decision makers, the people that are in the room that are signing off the budget, that are actually understand, like making you understand why they need this research, carrying the future and whatnot. Is that also, would you agree with that sentiment or that sentence where it's beyond consumer empathy?
100%. I think empathy for the people in my team, empathy for my clients, for my research partners, vendors, is crucial. Is
Yeah.
crucial to establish the relationships that will mean that collaboration happens at speed and that collaboration happens in good faith
Hmm.
all the way down. I do care. I do care about the people I work with in whatever capacity. It's just the kind of person I've always been. I can't switch it off, but I think it served me well over the years. And in particular, I try to put myself in the shoes of my clients, for example, to understand, you know, what are they trying to achieve?
Hmm.
What is the best thing that could happen to them, and how would that make them feel? And if there is a problem, how does that impact them? And when I work with a team, which everything is matrixed now, and so there's never one client. There's always 12 clients, whether we realize it or not. And I try to build that sense of empathy in the teams I work with as well,
Okay.
so that they stop thinking of their internal client as, just someone um, who has signed off on a research project, but for them to really take a moment and think about that person
Hmm.
and think, okay, where are they in their career? What are they trying to achieve? What is their pet project? What is their mission? What is their communication style? And so there's always a little bit of coaching to
Hmm.
try and make sure that people work well together, that they understand each other well,
Hmm.
so that by the time we roll out our recommendations, our strategy for the brand or the product or the service, we have a team that is ready to absorb it and to work together
Hmm.
to succeed together.
Okay. Doesn't that, because you're talking about building relationships, building rapport, understanding empathy, whatnot, doesn't, and I'll play devil's advocate with you because I probably do the same thing. I always moderate my clients so more so than I moderate the consumers sometimes. Um, but I think does it slow down a project?
That's a good question. It doesn't have to be, not significantly.
Okay.
I think finding the time to talk
Hmm.
depends on how much good faith we've built and how much of a relationship we've got. And in the maybe in the first engagement, people don't know each other very well, and you might have to prove yourself to do that first. But 15 minutes here and there and a quick catch up at the end of the day is possible, and it
Hmm.
is doable, and it doesn't need to take more than that. And again, I will say, let's say we have to wait a couple of days within our project to finish and deliver, to make sure, we take 2 days here and 2 days there, and it adds 4 days to a full timeline delivery. Fine, in a very agile project, that's a lot of time. But what if it saves 2 weeks of the client's time
Hmm.
after our engagement is said and done?
Hmm.
And that's what's important to me. The important thing to me is not to, do my research, do my field work, analyze, debrief. Here's a PowerPoint, go home, and
Hmm.
then I'm on to something else. What's important to me is that my clients succeed
Hmm.
in delivering at speed and in, you know, serving their customers and in reaping the rewards.
Yeah.
That is crucial for me. So I always try to take the long view on that and to convince them that, we can stop here a little bit, but think about the big picture.
Yeah, it will speed them up afterwards as well. So it might not be. And I'm sure that you, and maybe you have a few tips or tricks, but Do you have some questions maybe, or something that, I've been at this for a really long time, and so if I know that if I ask that question at that moment, it only takes me 15 minutes, but it saves us like shortcuts. Do you have some of those like good questions or good things? I'm putting you on the
Oh, you are. I think who the fun one is always who are the deciders,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously, who are the signatories on the project and so on, who are the stakeholders, but for the wider effort internally, who will consume this, who are the direct clients. But then the interesting one is always who are the influencers?
Hmm.
Who are the people who may not use directly any of the data that we have, who will not make decisions based on it, but who somehow will be there in the room whenever an important decision is being made, whether they talk or not. That can be very revealing and a very useful questions for everyone to think about the answer, because
Yeah.
these people are there for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and they have that influence on someone, and usually just pulling on that string a little bit
Yeah.
unearth some dynamics within the stakeholder team
Yeah.
that themselves highlight some priorities which aren't written in any deck. And so you
Yeah.
might find that, so and so has the pet project of trying to, I don't know, diminish costs on distribution, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And they're influential enough that anyone who can manage to show a cost, a distribution cost reduction, will get a gold star.
Hmm.
And that becomes a secondary objective in the project, to look for this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I always also ask how people like to learn. I feel like not everybody processes information the same way, like visual learners versus, I think it helps also to not change the story of their results, but to make sure that the recommendation and the story is well embraced and can actually, fuel people and energize people going forward. I have some people that like a lot of words. I have visual learners. I have people who like to be hands off. I like people who need to be in the trenches. I think that also helps quite
That
a
is
bit.
such a good question. That
Yeah.
is such a good question. How does that question then impact the way you work and the way you deliver?
It actually, so I always say we build a custom learning journey. And so the project is a learning journey. And so it allows me to figure out who will play what role from the client, from the key stakeholders, from the client. So are the decision makers, do they want to ask some questions? Do they want to be in the room? Do they want to be in people's houses? Do they want visuals things? Do we want video quotes at the end? Do we need a lot of visuals and mood boards, like agency creative people that are more on images and visuals versus words? Are they people that are very they need to take it aside, and then they need to think about it, sleep on it, and then come back, because then it actually sort of figures out how active or not they're going to play a role. If we need to workshop, if we need to actually space out the field work because we might want to make some decisions and maybe tweak some of the learning. Are we doing online and then live? I think it casts it has a huge role in how we go about doing a project above and beyond the objective and the focus. Like, it's always going to be focus driven, but I think there's so much flexibility in qual that it
Yeah,
allows that, and so much more today than ever before, I find.
there's a
Um,
huge flexibility, and it's funny because I think research as a discipline
mhm.
has always felt the need to demonstrate rigor, right? With this idea that there is a correct way to do things,
Yeah.
which obviously you need some rigor. You need, you're doing
They're
quant, you need your
North Star.
statistical,
Yeah. They're a
right?
guiding
Yeah,
principle. Yeah.
that you can't deviate from.
Yeah.
You can't compromise. But within that, there's huge amount of possibility. And there's a time when I found we were working with the C-suite of one of the top 5 global energy companies.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that obviously delivering a PowerPoint report, we weren't going to sit them down and talk them to death through 60 slides. And we found that even going through an executive summary and discussion Q&A wasn't quite hitting the spot. And after a little bit of trial and error, what we found was all of our debriefs, all of our reports were just very high quality video of consumers talking.
Mm-hmm.
Small clips, 3-minute segments
Mm-hmm.
of just people talking through the key points we want to convey
Yeah.
in their own environments, and then a quick stop for discussion. We would usually do that in very immersive environments. So, one of those fun workshops where people get to wear a hat or have a fun drink or something like that to just cut them off from work and do that immersive type. And we found that the impact
Mm-hmm.
that these small video reports had on the company was considerable, because that is what these deciders, these C-suite people were used to. They were used to looking at someone, listening very carefully to
Mm-hmm.
someone talk about their own needs, and then thinking about how they can react to that.
Yeah. I even had debriefs at one point that were like in retailing, where you have a picture of one, a picture of the other, and then you have a question. So and then you talk through it. You're like, what's the story? What do you think? And then you sort of like workshop through the insight, even though you know what the insight is, and you could, instead of actually feeding it, you actually just have a brilliant question or smart sort of question that will get them there, because they need, like I've had clients that they need to actually process themselves. That's how they learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question works well, but sometimes people are actually surprised by it. So I can't lead with that question. He's like, I don't know, is sometimes like this one. So there is a timing to it. Like you have to get people. But let's
Self.
yeah, you were saying, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So let's get to AI. So within all of that, where does AI fit into all of this for you?
So, where doesn't it? Is my easy answer. But I've been thinking about AI for way too long. I studied AI about 20 years ago at university, and I stayed a huge nerd my whole life. So it's really an interesting question, because there's always the theory of what AI can do and could do, and then there's the current reality of what we should allow it to do safely and robustly. And I think the distinction is important, because there's a lot of hype,
Mm-hmm.
and currently the future is completely unknown. No one knows exactly how far the current wave of AI is going to go and how much capability it's going to accumulate. In theory, the current models, well grown, well refined, could do anything, could play any role. Right now, the role it can play is multiple. There's the way I see it,
Mm-hmm.
there is a place for AI to go faster, right? To help us really accelerate our thinking
Mm-hmm.
and our decision making. There is an ability to process available data and to generate answers fast, which was completely unthinkable even a year or 2 years ago. And these ways always lose a little bit of the richness and the robustness
Mm.
of organic research. And I think it's important to be upfront about it, that
Yeah.
there is a trade-off. There will always be a trade-off. And it's something that we as researchers, as strategists, are comfortable with because we have made these trade-offs our whole life.
Mhm.
Like I always say, in a perfect world, every project would be a 6-month ethnography and 2 years quantitative longitudinal survey,
Yeah.
ideally, right?
Yeah.
With 4,000 people.
But by the time
It
you
would be
results, the world has probably changed.
a clinical trial,
Yeah.
but we're not in a perfect world. We have to move fast. We have to work with what we've got. And so we have smaller samples. We have interviews, short interviews online. We have to be critical about who we talk to and be very intentional about what we're doing. And in this world of always faster, always more agile, there are times where we we don't even have the time really to recruit a sample that would be worth anything. Where we have, say, a week, where we have 3 days, we're in the middle of a long workshop, and our process, the client has 10 days end to end to actually deliver a full positioning and innovation plan and strategy for the year. And in those cases, there are some AI tools that can deliver better guidance than, say, a SurveyMonkey panel,
Yeah.
which is fast but worth less than the paper is written on.
Yeah.
So there is this possibility of going a lot faster, and then there's the possibility of going a lot deeper as well. There's an increasing amount of solutions that we've been using for years. Because I started Jade Kite about 5 years ago, and immediately thought, well, I've been bothering everyone about AI my entire career, so now maybe I should do something about it. And obviously, it was before all the chat GPTs, but I realized quickly there are some systems, there are some AI machine learning systems that are available on the market that are robust, that are reliable, uh, like emotion recognition, for example, that have been benchmarked and tested to death in academic studies, where we know that the output we get when we measure someone's emotion is very close to the emotion they're feeling, where the measurement is actually better than what an expert researcher would produce in a fraction of the time. And so that enables us to have a lot more depth in our analyses by adding more data streams to qualitative. Qualitative has always had a very simple structure. We gather qualitative information from a million different possible sources, and then someone sits down and thinks really hard about them.
Yeah.
Maybe highlighters get involved. Maybe
Color code actually usually getting cool, and a lot of paper for some reason.
lots of paper, post-it notes. If we still have time and we're working in person, there's a flip chart, and we start drawing triangles. And I love that. Circles and triangles. Someone, 2x2 graph.
There's nothing like a good Venn diagram as a
I love a Venn diagram.
I love a good Venn diagram.
Off my cold dead hand, you'll take care. But and this will always be part of how we think, and the thinking is crucial. But I've always had this thing where you show up to a really important project and you've spent weeks with your team living, breathing the issue, and you've cracked it, and you've got the killer insights, and you've got all the support points, and you have the solution. And your entire senior leadership client team is sitting down, and you're going, okay, this is what we're going to do. And everyone is very impressed, round of applause. And there's 15 minutes at the end for next steps. And you got all of this richness in the room, and everyone's brain is fizzing with emotion. And next steps, someone goes, well, so we're going to send it to quant, obviously. Because if you're going to invest 1 million or 100 million on your next venture, you need the certainty, you need the robustness,
Yeah.
the statistical significance of quants, because otherwise, I'm sorry to say, but it's just someone's hunch. It's just someone's subjective interpretation of what happened in the fieldwork.
Yeah.
And that's always bothered me.
Really?
It's always bothered me because quant has a capacity to really squish the richness out of research, and to lose out a lot of the nuance and a lot of the emotion, a lot of the empathy that I think is critical for any good marketing strategy.
Yeah. I think qual expands it, but you have to know when to stop expanding. I think that's where where we started a conversation around focus. I think that's really important as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
So
would you say you use it more at the back end after you've done your analysis, or do you use it more before you do your field work?
all three, before, during, and
Okay.
after. So before, we, like I said, we use a lot of simulation, a lot of AI-enabled research based on existing data, which is, there's a lot of different types, either from mining to generation to ideas testing, but that helps run multiple pilots in a very short span of time. So that, using it before fieldwork really helps focus, sharpen, and optimize the focus of the study. When it lets us see, okay, this is something we hadn't thought about. Should we investigate it?
Yeah.
This is something that keeps coming up. Do we need to validate it in person, or are we comfortable thinking, yes, that's correct? Let's just write it down and save the time for more interesting stuff. And it can throw up weird stuff as well.
Yeah.
It can show some ideas that were completely unexpected and that we hadn't thought about. During the field work, we use it a lot to accelerate our ongoing analysis and for collaboration.
Okay.
Again, in a perfect world, after every single engagement, after every interview, every focus group, everyone would sit down and have a nice 90-minute conversation so we can all, absorb and then move on informed.
Yeah.
The reality is we're often parallel tracking, people are in different countries, we're moving very fast, and everyone is just completely head down to deliver. And these collaborative AI tools help distill down what is important for who to know and manage everyone's time efficiently.
Yeah.
And also for fieldwork management, making sure that, timetables are used to the best effect and we don't have those 40 minutes of lag when you can't do anything in 40 minutes.
No. Yeah.
So during fieldwork, very, very useful, but for analysis support, a huge lot.
Yeah.
And that goes from, supporting traditional analysis of transcripts and so on, but also adding these data streams from emotion recognition, from behavior recognition, and so on.
Yeah. Is there one application of AI that you found was really getting you excited? Like it was really fun, it was really creative. Is there one thing that you're like, oh, this is awesome? That was so cool.
Oh, there are a lot. The one I always think about is not the most, revolutionary, it's going to change the world of insights or anything like that. But to me, it's just so much fun. And it's image generation. Image generation works really well. Everyone is now comfortable with it, with how it works. And I have found that using it before, during, and after can really help jazz up things. If I can have a live illustrator on any project, I will always try to have a live illustrator, a human being who understands what's going on and can, draft and sketch very quickly, and it adds incredible value. And I have some great collaborators for that. When there isn't the time and the budget, I find that just throwing things into Midjourney, DALL-E, any of them is so much fun. So, for example, just to be able to illustrate concepts at the proposal and design stage, to be able to bring things to life and align a team on what are the ambitions, what are we trying to do, etc. Particularly if we're investigating territories. You know how, again, we love to divide any category, any world into 4 territories, 3 if we're in a hurry. And to bring these to life, I found that being able to generate complex, beautiful images in a certain style, in the right colors, in the right category, is invaluable. During workshops, though, that's where the fun is to be able to get people to describe either how they feel or what they were doing, and then tweak it live.
Yeah, I've used it the same way in focus groups, actually, especially with Gen Z, which this whole cancel culture has had a real deep impact on them, whether it's conscious or not. This notion that they don't want to play into stereotypes, don't want to lean into stereotypes as much. And so when you do like the classic 101 brand projective exercise of if this brand was a person, who would it be? What they don't want to lean into stereotypes. They're like afraid, they don't, everything's possible, the world is beautiful, it could be anything. So we have to use other metaphors and whatnot, but actually bring that into the room and actually getting them to prompt it. And it's really interesting because I feel consumers are really, really good at reacting to things. They don't necessarily come up with the right words all the time. There's this notion of it's not what I say, it's what I mean.
Yeah.
And so there's something about an image. And back in the day, we've been at this for a really long time, you and I, but we had binders and binders of images of different things, and then find an image somewhere. And then, and it's interesting how with this, they can put in some words and you go, no, that's not what I mean. And then they course correct the image. And then you go deeper, you go richer, so it goes beyond words and it becomes kind of a good gateway and a fun thing. Actually, people actually quite enjoy it, and they're like, oh, this is cool, this is fun, like this is different, which also builds engagement in the focus group itself. But I found that was something really exciting. I really like doing rapid prototyping with it as well to get something.
Yeah.
And when you're doing workshopping on flavors at 3 p.m. and everybody just is craving chocolate or sweets, and come up with savory flavors for something, and everybody's got chocolate on their brain, and the only thing they can come up with is chocolate. I'm like, let's add AI, because they don't have a craving for anything right now. So let's take the human out of it, and let's try to find something there. So I think there's no such thing as a white page anymore.
No, for brainstorming, for drafting, it's incredible.
You always have a rough draft to work with.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always something there, whether it be also translation, whether like even crafting questions and testing questions. Like we used to have a board and we would test questions in different languages, different cultures, and even like asking a certain question to, boomer generation, Gen Z versus millennials. I think the words are not the same. Like what's cool to a boomer, same word, same meaning, different word. And I think it allows us to test questions so much faster and be sharper in that sense.
It does. And I like the way you think about testing and be sharper. And it's an advice I've been giving since ChatGPT came out to a lot of people, to everyone who says, I want to dip my toes, I want to start, but I don't know where to start. And obviously, you and I, qualitative researchers, we know that there's always a reason behind the reason, and that reason is often to do with emotions and identity. And I found that for a lot of people, they're scared to engage because what if it's good? What if it can actually do the job better than them? What does that imply for
Yeah.
them? And I understand that worry. And the good thing is that it's really not there. But I always say try it, and you'll see that the main benefits you'll have is that you'll feel really good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You'll realize that your 20 years of experience accumulated puts you way ahead of any current AI in your field. And I love the way you think about it, because that's how I use it as well, is as a sounding board, and as a way for it to give me some ideas, and then I can look at the ideas and say, well, obviously this is terrible because, and then I've already jumped 3 steps ahead in my reasoning.
Yeah, well, I think it's also the fact that I think it's interesting because we're later on in our careers, and I think we know what success looks like. And so I think there's also that. So I know if this is a bad idea or not.
Yeah.
So I think there's also that ability. If you don't know what a bad idea looks like, you might run with the first idea, which I'm like, have coffee. Like if you've never done AI, I always say, well, have coffee this morning. Have your coffee with ChatGPT. Have a coffee break and a coffee conversation with ChatGPT and start there and just
Yeah.
see where it can go and test it and play devil's advocate. And it's interesting because given my role in the company, and I really love delegating for some reason. It's my favorite.
Good.
It's my drug of choice. That being said, there's something about whenever my team was teasing me a few years back when I started using it, because I'd say please and thank you.
Always.
Always, always. And so we started testing tone. And so there was one person on our team that started being not so nice and playing devil's advocate and saying, I know you can do better. And then her quality, like she trained her version of it, and it was sharper. It was a bit more on edge. Like mine was like, oh, she's kind to me. I won't give it my all. And so it's interesting how the prompts can kind of play into it as well. So you do have to test it out. You do have to have fun with it.
And find your style. Absolutely.
Yeah, don't take it for like face value. I think critical thinking is more important than ever before.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's sort of what the key thing is. And I
And
mean,
it's something we obviously spend a lot of time thinking about, the future of research and where are things going. And increasingly, I think if research simulation keeps getting more accurate,
mhm,
and particularly if it starts delivering high levels of accuracy for niche
yeah,
areas, niche populations, niche categories, and evolves fast enough, then we will be looking at a point where a lot of what we currently use research for
mhm,
is going to be done in simulation.
yeah,
All of the big studies for validation, to sense check, pulse check, concept test, all of that is probably going to be largely simulated. But that has interesting consequences because, one, there will be a lot of need to research for primary research, for real world research, to investigate more difficult subjects, to
yeah,
find the competitive edge,
yeah,
right? To look for the weird thing
mhm,
that isn't really in the AI yet
yeah,
and unearth it and validate it. But the other one that's very interesting for our whole sector is that obviously there's millions of companies, hundreds of millions of companies in the world that have never done market research because they don't have, $10,000 lying around because they don't even know that market research exists. It's just
mhm,
not in their capability. And obviously they are going to start thinking about doing it with AI. Now, the risk is what you've just said, is that for someone who doesn't know what good looks like, what success looks like, AI is very convincing. That's how LLMs are built. They're not built to be right, they're built to be convincing.
Yeah.
And there will be a risk for these people, for all of these companies, to just take it as true, and
Yeah.
they will need maybe a day's worth, maybe 2 days worth from a seasoned researcher, from a critical thinker, from a strategist who
Hmm.
can look at the results and say, this is right, this I would be cautious about, and overall, this is what it means for you.
Yeah, I think the so what and now what is still very much us.
Yeah,
I
it
think
will
that
always be.
I'm really not that nervous, to be quite honest. And I've never really enjoyed reporting back, and AI can report back. Let's take it to the interesting stuff. I think that's really sort of where I'm going. Okay, I just want to be mindful of your time. We could go on and on and on, but we are in different time zone, and so I want to be mindful of your time. And so are you up for that French twist, which I always do because I do speak French. And so I do have these four amazing questions that I ask all my guests at the end of the day. And there are some trends, which is really interesting from a researcher to another. And I'll clue you in after. But so these four questions are from Bernard Pivot's Bouillon de Culture. It's usually 10 questions. I boiled it down to four. So here goes. Are you game?
I'm so excited. I used to watch Weird Culture religiously as a child. I was again a very nerdy child, um, and so I'm more than ready. Shoot.
Amazing. So you actually know the real one because most people actually go to James Lipton and Actor Studio, which is like the North America. Okay, so here
I
goes.
love Ben Uppiman.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
So I have a theory
Okay.
that everyone goes through phases in their life
Mhm.
where they think it would be really cool to be something that is actually a bit of a nightmare. So
Okay.
when you're a teenager, you think that being, some sort of celebrity, a skateboarder, an influencer, whatever, an actor, would be a nice, entertaining way to spend your days. And the reality is, none of these things are fun. They're very, very hard professions, very demanding. When you're in your 20s, you think that maybe running a bar would be great, or something related to travel.
Yeah.
Both of these means you're never going to be home, you're never going to sleep, and you're going to have really insane demands from people you stop caring about very quickly. In your 30s, you start thinking about running a B&B. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I
No.
don't know why that happens, but you're in your 30s and you travel to a country and you're like, I could run a B&B here. And it makes no sense. It's a nightmare. It's a money pit. You don't even want to live in that country. You're just on holiday. Anyway, everyone thinks that. Now I'm in my 40s, and so I want to deal antiques. I think it would be really great. And for some people, it can be like vinyls, but it's some kind of object that you think you would be really good at finding and then selling. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's no career in there. Everyone loses
No.
money. But I believe for some reason that it would be very nice to just buy priceless antiques and sell them. So antiquarian is my answer.
Yeah, I think that is so that hit home so much. And it's so funny because my husband and I are both in our 40s, and it's really interesting how I've been married for 25 years and now we're into used vinyls, and there are rules because there's just so much vinyls you can put in someone's house. We're not selling them, but we're definitely collecting them. So a little bit of that. I think there's some. So what is it going to be in our 50s? We'll have to do, yeah.
I don't know. I'm really curious. I'm excited to find out.
Uh,
What is my impractical obsession in my 50s?
You are a nerd. I love it. I love it. What is your favorite word?
Wistful in the English language.
Is it
Am I
phonetics or is it for the meaning?
bit of both.
Okay.
I love the phonetics of it. Wistful. It feels very English language.
Hmm.
Um, I love that it's one of those words that doesn't have a real translation in another language.
Hmm.
I'm obsessed with untranslatable words that take a full sentence. And wistful is just a very, very, very specific sentiment, isn't it?
It is.
it's close to Sodage, but it's not.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of it. It really evokes, Victorian ladies staring at a cliff with their dress billowing in the wind.
Yeah.
So I just love it.
Amazing. And your least favorite word?
In English, again, cellar door,
And why that one?
because some linguist at some point has decided it was the most beautiful word in the English language. And for some reason, people have been repeating it for forever since, and it just gets on my nerves. It's just a very arbitrary thing from one person at a point in their life, and I've heard it enough that when I see a cellar door, the word comes to my mind. And it's just not very nice to say cellar
Hmm.
door. I don't know. It grates me the wrong way.
Okay. And what is the best thing a mentor has ever imparted on you that still to this day rings true? Kind of use it as somewhat of a North Star.
There's been two.
Mhm.
Um, there's been two. One was go home. Just close your computer and go home. And it was someone I really respect to this day when I was very early in my career, who found me working late in the office, trying to prove myself, 20s mentality, I'm gonna make it. And it was nighttime, and he said, Sidi, just stop, just go home. You're not saving lives here. Um, you know, and you're thinking we'll be better in the morning.
Yeah.
Be with people you like, do something interesting. If
Mhm.
you spend the next 2 hours doing something intellectually stimulating, your report will be better
Yeah.
than if you spend the next 2 hours obsessing over it. The real one, though, is much earlier. My first job, someone told me, be extra, extra nice. Be nice to everyone, but be extra, extra nice to receptionists, cleaners, and
Yeah.
anyone else that are invisible to
Yes.
most of the staff.
Because
Get to know them first.
they are the key influencers. They are the
They
gateway.
are.
They
They
are.
know everything. They know everyone. They can influence all decisions, but also they're the life and blood. The place would fall apart
Mm-hmm.
without them, and they deserve applause and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to know them, know their name, who they are before you know that about your boss.
Yeah. And it's interesting.
And that's stuck with me.
It's a really good one. As part of the recruitment process at Silvas, you have to I take people to start are really sort of one of those really puzzling. They'll get their order wrong. Your order is complex, and I let them order coffee. It's amazing what you can learn about people. It's amazing.
That's a
It's
great one.
bad.
It happened to me. I was taken for lunch and judged that way. I was told
Yeah.
later, but at another agency I was with, they had I don't know if they still do it. They had the fantastic practice that you would go through, first interview and then second interview, and the final, you would come in and do a small presentation on a research subject and talk about something that you find really cool,
Mm-hmm.
but you would do it in front of a panel with senior people, middle, and really junior people. So usually 6 to 8 people with Q&A, and the junior people, all of them had veto power.
Mm.
If the juniors don't like you, you can't work them. And that meant that everyone in the company actually liked each other
Yeah.
and wanted to work together and was nice to each other. And I remember one time when someone who I used to be an SVP at Kantar, I think. He used to be very, very, very senior, and he came for a senior director role. And the juniors kept asking him questions on his presentation, which was, it's what they were there for. And he flipped out. And he would listen to the question and then answer to the senior directors.
Oh no.
And obviously, we all noticed it, and we all sort of sat back and let the juniors keep asking more questions to see how he would take it. And he didn't take it well at all. He stormed out at the end of the interview, complained about it to the recruiter, and we all thought it was very funny.
Well,
because we don't want to work with that person, obviously.
Well, he didn't understand the point. He
Exactly.
completely missed the point. Yeah. And so often do you point the moon and people look at your finger, right? It happens. It happens. My thesis director told me
I
that
love
at
this
one point.
expression.
But my thesis director imparted two things, which are sayings to this day. So he was French and Parisian. So one of which is, it happens. Be patient. Go, because I tend to go really fast. He's like, be patient. Sometimes you point at the moon, people look at the finger, and then they have to look beyond. So give him a minute. Like, some people process information and learn differently. So that's why I asked that question, because it helps me as well. And I think the other one was, it's easy to be vaguely right. It is very easy to be precisely false. Which in
Very
French
nice.
is vaut mieux être vaguement juste que précisément faux. Is fabulous.
I love it.
From your thesis director, I think that is like,
yeah,
perfect.
Broadly right, rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
It's easy to prove something wrong.
Yeah.
It's very hard to prove something right.
Yeah. I thought that was brilliant. Anyways,
I'll keep this one.
Yeah. Oh, please do. It's been with me for almost 3 decades now. This was fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Met at the QRC, saw each other in New York last week. Like, I'm really happy we did this. And I think we should definitely keep the AI conversation going.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, we keep it creative, we keep it productive. Instead of being afraid, we're leaning into it and actually having fun with it, which I think is fabulous. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Okay, well,
Bye-bye.
That was episode 8. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon with episode 9. I really hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to tell everyone, and stay tuned for the next episode of Insightful Inspiration.